What if there was an easier way to conquer the ego, conquer all of your limiting beliefs, expand your consciousness, and easily live in the state of the wish fulfilled? Well, that's what we're talking about today in this video. Welcome back to my channel, everyone. I am your muse, Traci. I am here to inspire you and empower you to live the life of your dreams, to create on purpose exactly what you want in all areas of your life, to stop settling and to stop suffering. You are not here to suffer. If that sounds good to you, you're more than welcome to subscribe to my channel. I offer one-on-one coaching and I also offer group coaching, and you can find more information about all of that in the description down below. So let's get into the video today. And I want to talk about, you guessed it, you saw the title of the video, I want to talk about surrender. This video is long overdue, and I am very happy and excited to be making this video because I am hoping to accomplish in this video, my intention to accomplish in this video is to simplify this concept of surrender. And if you are anything like me, I have in the past found that word to be completely mystifying. Like completely just, I had no concept of what it meant, how to do it, what does that even mean? You know, that's kind of how I felt when I saw that word and or heard about it. Or so if you're anything like me, you may feel that surrender is a challenge. Maybe you know exactly what it is, but you still just find it challenging to do. And again, that's what I'm hoping to accomplish. I'm not hoping, I'm intending, I'm assuming that that's what we're going to accomplish in this video. Is I'm going to teach you an easy way to surrender. Okay? So let's get into it. So first and foremost, I want to talk about what I'm referring to with surrendering. And there's different ways to surrender, right? And there's different ways that you can talk about surrendering. And a lot of times in the manifestation community, we're talking about surrendering to 3D reality, which another word for that could be acceptance. We're talking about surrendering your desires, letting them go. So I am not in the belief system that you ever have to let your desires go. Your desires, you can't actually. I mean, at least that's been my experience. Like I talked about in my last video, your desires are planted inside of you from your higher self. Your higher self wants to experience these things through you, and you're given these desires for the purpose of your expansion. If you didn't watch that video, go watch that video, come back and watch this one. So you never have to surrender your desires. You never have to give them up in order to receive them. That's a lot of times what people think they have to do, because they have so much resistance that the only way they can drop the resistance is by giving up the desire. Okay, you don't have to drop the desire. That's again what some people, that's the only way they find the way to drop the resistance. You can just drop the resistance. What do I mean by resistance? I mean any reasons why you think that you can't, realize your desires, accomplish your desires. Call it manifest if you want. I don't love that term, but you can't align yourself with the parallel reality where your desires already exist and therefore experience your desires. So you never have to surrender your desires. So I'm not talking about surrender in that way. The way I really want to talk about surrender today is more in a sense of surrendering to your higher self, okay? And to put it even more simply and to help make it like crystal clear, to demystify what exactly I'm talking about, surrender to the truth. is really what I'm wanting to talk about. Surrendering to the truth of who you are, right? So I'm going to assume that intellectually, you guys have a belief about, where you come from, and that you come from pure positive energy. And so that must be your real true nature, right? And so intellectually, you know that you are, not all these layers of conditioning and programming that have been layered on your pure essence, right? You know you are not those things, but yet you still struggle with self-doubt and self-criticism and self-judgment and blame and shame and blah, 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 all these things, right? Ego, 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 ego. And you still struggle with these things, even though you know the truth of who you are. So what is the fast track to you changing your programming? Now, when I say fast track, I don't mean you can skip it completely. You guys know, if you've been on my channel, you know that I'm about doing the work to change the programming that is creating 95% of your reality so that you shift yourself back into effortless manifesting. And that's what I teach you in my coaching program. Okay. If you don't know that, you know that now, or, go watch some of my other videos. And so I'm not saying to bypass that completely. I still think that's a very necessary and helpful process to go through. Helpful so that you can go to effortless manifesting. You guys have also heard me talk about, you don't have to rewrite your programming. You can totally, struggle against your programming and keep the 5%, the conscious mind, struggling against the 95% and just not. You can do that. You can totally do that, and you'll get some results. I don't recommend it, and I've been there. And yes, of course, you can create from that place, but you're going to struggle. You're going to get limited results. You're going to get results and then probably push them right back out because your programming says you don't get to have that. So let's skip all that, right? Or not skip it, but let's go about it the right way so that you can return back to effortless manifesting. And not only effortless manifesting, but then you get to keep your manifestations, your desires when they show up. Because who wants to struggle? Man, I did it. I sheer willed my way into realizing my desires, and then because the programming is indifferent, push them right back out, and then we go struggling again. No. This is what I'm talking about in every one of my intros. You're not here to suffer. So, okay. So I'm not saying we skip that work altogether. We do that work. But even still, sometimes that programming is so deep, that conditioning that you're not worthy, that you're not good enough, that you're not ever going to be chosen, that you can't be abundant. All that is still, it's difficult to it can feel challenging to change. I don't even want to say it's difficult because that's a belief system, and I don't want to feed into that because a lot of people comment on my videos like, it's so hard to change. It's really not, okay? It doesn't have to be. You can really take control and say, this is what I now believe, okay? So it doesn't have to be, but this is another way that you can make it more streamlined, like more of a fast track for you to change your belief system, and it's through surrender. And what do I mean by surrender? I mean surrendering to the truth of who you are. The truth of who you are is absolute perfection, is a divine being, is limitless potential. It's all of these things. Like I was saying earlier in the video, I'm going to assume that you guys have these beliefs. Like if you take a step back from your current belief system and what you're bombarded with, your ego and your limiting, blah, blah. If you take a step back from that and you contemplate like, where did I come from? And what is my true nature? You guys know all of these things, right? But the ego is protecting your programming because it thinks you need that programming to stay alive on the planet. So your ego is constantly giving you all of these limitations, okay? And this is how you can fast track the shift, because these things that your ego is telling you, you're not worthy, you don't get to have it, you can't do it, you're failing, you're not good enough, those are not the truth. So we're not surrendering to that. We're surrendering to the truth. We're surrendering to connecting to only connecting to and believing in the truth, which is your true nature. And another way of looking at surrender is connecting to the present moment. If you are connected to the present moment, there's no room for fear. There's no room for questioning. There's no room for doubt. There's no room for projecting lack. There's no room for, again, all the stuff the ego likes to feed you. So you surrender to the truth and you surrender to the now moment. And in doing these things, you will not only feel better, you will fast track the path that you're on to changing your belief system. Okay. And when you change your belief system, your reality is going to change. Okay. And manifestations, you start aligning with the reality that you want, because a lot of times, not a lot of times, all the time, you are the holdout. Your ego mind, and you buying into your ego mind, you giving into that is the only holdout for why you're not experiencing your desires. Creation is finished. You're not waiting on anything ever. Waiting doesn't make sense. So you're the only holdout, and I'm not blaming anyone. Okay, you guys, I've been here. I've been there. Okay, so I'm relating to this experience from my own personal experience. You're the only holdout. You're the only sort of like thing that is saying, I don't get to have that. Again, go watch my previous video if you didn't watch the one about your desires, because you don't have desires that you can't have. That's suffering. You're not here to suffer. Your higher being isn't trying to make you suffer. This is a inside job. It's self-perpetuated, and it doesn't have to be, okay? So your programming, yes, it's not your fault. Most of your programming is from the environment that you were raised in from ages 0 to 7. And, it's not directly your fault, but it is your responsibility to change and do the work to change so that you can reclaim your magnificence, your truth. You can surrender to the truth of who you really are. So again, this is the fast track, you guys, to all the work, changing beliefs, getting your mental diet on track, living in the end. If you surrender to the now moment and you surrender to the truth, you're going to live in the end of having your desires now. You're going to live in the end, because what would keep you from assuming that you have these things now? Right? You're not living in lack. You're not living in, unworthiness. You're not living in self-blame or shame or judgment. All of that is not true. It's not true. So we don't surrender to the not true stuff anymore. Surrender means giving into it, going with it, bending to it. No, let's not surrender to the untruth. Let's only surrender to the truth. The truth is never going to bring suffering. When you surrender to the truth of who you are, when you surrender to the now moment, this is where you relieve the suffering. This is how you get out of suffering. You can actually easily, the fast track to experiencing joy, because you are not, these untruths. This is the source of suffering, because your higher self is trying to your higher self is giving you negative emotions to try to tell you, hey, not helpful. All these things the ego is feeding you, not helpful, because these things are going to keep you from where you want to go. Now, when you surrender into the truth, all those negative feelings are going to go away, because your higher self doesn't need to feed you negative feelings telling you that you're going in the wrong direction, like a guidance system, a GPS. So what's available then? Joy, happiness, contentment, all the things you need to step into, the alignment to also manifest exactly what you want. These states of being content, being in joy, being in satisfaction. Surrender to the now moment. Surrender to the truth. We're not surrendering to the falsehoods of the ego any longer. You don't have to debate with the ego. Just recognize it for what it is. Go back to the now moment and the truth of who you are. It's simple. Now, simple doesn't mean easy. It takes practice, okay? But it's simple. We're demystifying surrender and making it super clear not only what it is, but how to do it. And this is the fast track to moving yourself out of suffering, out of struggle, out of ego mode, out of limiting beliefs. It's the key to so much. Just surrender to the truth of who you really are, the truth of the now moment. All right, you guys. That's it for this one. I'm under 20 minutes. It's so hard for me to record a video under 20 minutes, but I did it. We're under 20 minutes. Leave me a comment down below, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.